Join us for NPR's Wildcard Podcast, the game where cards control the conversation.
All right, Sasha, as our guest, which topic should we start with?
Well, a lot of people are badly freaked out by spiders, so let's just rip the Band-Aid off and start with that one.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell everyone that, let's not worry about these Joro spiders. They're not dangerous. They do have these, really big webs. The females do have inch-long bodies, and the legs make them up to almost 4 inches long. Well, okay, and they're black, and they're electric yellow, and they're venomous.
Now we see why people don't like spiders so much.
Not helping so much, Gina. Let me give this a try. So Joro spiders rarely bite, and even if they did, their fangs are super small. They'd have a really hard time even getting through your skin. And if they did bite you, it's easily treated just like a normal bug bite and even less painful than a bee sting.
Again, spiders not so bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did these spiders get here?
So they most likely got here through shipping containers from East Asia, and now they have this big population in Atlanta, and it's a big port of entry, so that makes sense. And it's also has a similar humidity and temperature to their natural habitat in Asia.
And the spiders can die if it gets too cold, so with climate change warming our planet, researchers think that warmer winters are going to help Joros establish populations in more places farther north.
You mentioned that these spiders are invasive, and obviously oftentimes invasive species can be very bad for ecosystems. Do we know if this is going to be bad for the East Coast in any way?
We actually don't know yet. There needs to be more research on how Joro spiders are affecting their environment and other native species. But one of the researchers I talked to said that spiders are a prime example of two trends that are helping a lot of other invasive species spread, and that's global shipping routes expanding and a warmer climate.
And Sasha, we can all help researchers by tracking Joros. So if you see one, you can log it on community sites like iNaturalist, Project Joro, or Joro Watch.
They have their own websites. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so your next story keeps us on the critter beat. It's about a fungus that is turning cicadas into what you described as sexed up zombies?
Yes. So you've probably heard about this huge cicada phenomenon happening this year, right?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so there's these two groups of periodical cicadas, and they're emerging at the same time. One comes out every 17 years in the Midwest, and the other emerges every 13 years in the Midwest and the Southeast.
And where does the zombification come in?
Okay, yeah. So our colleague Rachel Treisman recently reported on this. It's the fungal parasite Mesospora cicadina, which has been observed in these cicadas in about half a dozen states now. It fills an infected cicada's abdomen and then emerges out of its back end like this chalky white gumdrop. Or at least that's how Matt Casson described it. He's a fungi scientist.
I have never liked gumdrops. Now I definitely never will eat gumdrops.
Absolutely not.
It's a horrible visual. Okay, so Matt told NPR that this fungus is unique because it keeps the cicada alive even after a third of its body has been replaced by this fungal tissue. And it's not just alive, it makes the cicadas hypersexual in an attempt to spread its spores.
So is it kind of like the fungus hijacking the cicadas for their own gain, and then the zombified cicadas spread the fungus even farther?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So infected male cicadas will try to mate with healthy females and then also other males, and they're really just flying around and raining down spores like flying salt shakers of death. That's how Matt put it.
This guy's good at phrases.
I know, he has some really good language. And if that weren't enough, Matt says this fungus produces a stimulant that likely means all of these cicadas are high out of their minds while this is all going down.
Is it known how widespread this fungus is in the cicadas?
So Matt says the incidence of infection is pretty low, maybe below 5%, although he's encountered some areas where it's as high as 20 to 30%. And if you happen to come across one yourself, don't worry, this fungus is specialized to cicadas, according to scientists at Chicago's Field Museum of Natural History. So safe to handle, but you might want to wash your hands after that.
A good rule for life in general.
Yes.
Last topic, totally different. This one's really interesting. I saw an article about this just today. Understanding how spaceflight affects human health.
Yeah, okay, so as we know, humans have evolved to thrive here on Earth, which means spaceflight and microgravity are, to put it simply, rough on the body. We've known that astronauts lose bone density in space, blood and bodily fluids are redistributed in microgravity, which really just means that without the effects of Earth's gravity, these things are all pushed upwards from the legs and abdomen to the heart and the head.
But we haven't known much about what's happening inside human cells during spaceflight. And as spaceflight becomes more common and astronauts set out on longer missions, this other piece of the puzzle is crucial.
And are these new findings getting at that, about what happens at the cellular level in space?
Yeah, so that's the goal, because right now we don't know that much, but a huge collection of papers released this week in Nature and its companion journals is starting to fill in some gaps about what's going on inside cells. I talked to one researcher, Elia Overby, who told me about this one finding. Telomeres, or markers of aging at the ends of chromosomes, seem to get longer during spaceflight as opposed to generally getting shorter like they do here on Earth.
And if telomeres get longer, do we know if that's a bad thing?
Okay, yeah, so Elia said we don't really know the implications of this yet, which is kind of the whole problem, but she does hope that a new database, the Space Omics and Medical Atlas, is going to help answer this question. It's the largest of its kind to date and includes data from a bunch of different space missions.
Yeah, astronauts gave samples of things like blood, saliva, and even skin biopsies before spaceflight, and then researchers compared those samples to ones taken after they returned to Earth.
Is the idea that now that we have more data, we'll be able to take better care of astronauts?
Yeah, both Elia and a space physician I talked to, Emmanuel Urquieta, talked about personalized medicine. And Elia said the SOMA database helps us get closer to that kind of care for individual astronauts and for civilians who are interested in things like commercial space travel.
Instead of, it being a shot in the dark, a completely exploratory exercise in figuring out what's going on in the human body, they now have something to point them towards for novel scientific questions that they didn't have before.
Right now, they only have data for a small number of people, but Emmanuel and Elia both say data like this will help usher us into a new era of space exploration.
So interesting, the toll on the body that space travel can take. What interesting research this is.
Yeah, I don't ever want to go to space. Sasha, thank you so much for laughing with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, come hang out with us anytime.
I love doing this with both of you, so thanks very much.
Before we head out, a quick shout out to our Shortwave Plus listeners. We appreciate you and we thank you for being a supporter. Shortwave Plus helps support our show, and if you're a regular listener, we'd love for you to join so you can enjoy the show without sponsor interruptions. Find out more at plus.npr.org/shortwave.
This episode was produced by Gus Contreras and Burley McCoy. It was edited by Viet Le and Rebecca Ramirez.
Rachel and I checked the facts, and the audio engineers were Josh Newell and Neil Tevalt. I'm Regina Barber.
I'm Rachel Carlson.
Thank you for listening to Shortwave from NPR.
NPR Plus is a new way to support public media and get more from your favorite NPR podcasts like Fresh Air.
Sometimes I'll actually preface the question with, if it makes you too uncomfortable to talk about, if it's too personal, just tell me. Here's the question.
For behind-the-scenes content, bonus episodes, and more, sign up at plus.npr.org.
Want to maximize your summer without stretching your budget? Life Kit's got you covered with guides on exploring your neighborhood for cheap.
Don't let money or time be the thing that decides whether or not you will have fun. You can have fun almost in spite of those things.
Make the most of every day this summer, whether you're jet setting or staying close to home. Listen to the Life Kit podcast from NPR.
On Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, we have very important people on our show and then ask them about very unimportant things. Here's U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen.
We are also reliably informed that among your enthusiasms, in addition to macroeconomic policy, is mobile games.
There is some truth in that.
There's some truth in that. Join us for the NPR podcast that considers all the other things. That's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.